Alright, well, we finally got the finale of the Book of Boba Fett, and well, it was okay. I really do think from the beginning this show was meant to be a placeholder until The Mandalorian Season 3 was ready, and I understand that there are a lot of fans of Boba Fett that aren't really happy with the show, and that's totally fine. I myself don't necessarily love the show, but I would watch it again, and for the finale there were some great moments, and there were some not so great moments. So let's get right into the review. Chapter 7 of the Book of Boba Fett is titled In the Name of Honor, and it's the big fight we've all been waiting for. I know people are already going to be saying that the fight wasn't big enough, but you have to remember that this show was made with the whole underworld mafia style in mind. In those movies and shows, when war breaks out between families, there isn't a massive army on either side, so this whole finale just looking like a street gang fight makes a lot of sense, and I really think that that was a much smarter move. I loved seeing everyone unite for this episode and fighting alongside each other, even though the addition of Pelimato and Grogu seemed a bit out of place. I think the best part about this episode was Cad Bane, and his scenes did not disappoint. The whole time Cad is just trying to find a way to get under Boba's skin, just trying to prove that Boba is still that killer from back during the Clone Wars. Especially when Cad learns that the Pykes killed the Tusken tribe and blamed it on the Speederbike gang, and using that information to try to get Boba to slip up was just what Cad Bane would do. And that first encounter was just nerve-wracking. Having Boba and Fennec stand off against Cad Bane, not knowing who was going to pull the trigger, was very intense, and I let out a huge sigh of relief when the scene finally ended. Even later on in the episode, we finally get the showdown between Boba and Cad Bane, and it was amazing. Cad showing off that he's still faster than Boba after all these years and calling back to that unfinished episode of the Clone Wars where they fought against each other was awesome. Now, a lot of people are shocked that Cad Bane died here, but I think it's fitting. Boba should have been the one to do it because of their history together. I do think that this whole fight would have had more weight had that unfinished episode actually been premiered to have that backstory available to us, but I'll take what I can get. But the fact that Boba had to use his gaffy stick to win made it so much better, just showing that the old Boba was still never going to be able to beat Cad Bane at his own game, but the new Boba was prepared for this encounter. Another really fun thing about this episode was the Scorpenec Droids. These massively oversized droidicas are terrifying and nearly impossible to destroy. When they walked on screen, I instantly thought they were a part of Skynet and that the T-7T from the Terminator universe had crossed over. They do cause a lot of destruction and become quite a challenge that I feel was needed. It would only make sense for the Pykes to have some sort of muscle to back up the pawns on the front lines. But as strong as they were no match for the Rancor, which honestly was my least favorite part. Don't get me wrong, I was excited for it like everyone else, and actually seeing Boba ride the Rancor was badass. But there were too many tropes that kinda threw me out of it. When the Rancor first appears, it's kinda doing the whole Godzilla thing by showing the ridge in its back across the rooftops, and then later it climbs a tower and does the whole King Kong trope, and it just felt weird and out of place. I will say though, I thought Grogu putting it to sleep was cool, and then Grogu petting the Rancor and falling asleep right next to it was pretty cute. Overall, the episode was just fine. I think I would give it about a 5 out of 10. The cameos didn't do anything to destroy it, and the writing was fine, it just didn't work for me. But that doesn't mean that I absolutely hate it. I think it's important to note the ending, especially since we have Boba telling Fennec that they aren't cut out for this line of work, potentially implying that they may go back to bounty hunting, so if we get a season 2, we may get some of that classic Boba that we started to get in this episode. Plus, when the music transitions into the Mando theme and Din and Grogu fly away, it's just showing that the focus of the show is now shifting back to the Mandalorian, which I think is very clever. Plus, of course, there was a great end credit scene with my boy, Cobb Vanth, in the back to tank. That's right, he survived, with the mod creator there ready to upgrade him. So we'll be getting more of Boba and we'll be getting more of Cobb, and that's what I'm really excited for going forward. And maybe that's the play. Maybe Boba goes back to his old life and Cobb Vanth takes over Mos Espa. It may seem a bit out of character for him, but I think it would be awesome. Cobb is a character who really cares about the people, and I think he would excel in Boba's position, but I do think it is way too early to be talking about a season 2. But that's everything I have to say about the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett. What were your thoughts? Did this finale match your expectations? What do you think is next for Boba and Fennec? And what do you think Cobb Vanth's role will be in future Star Wars projects? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. As always, be sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't. And remember, the Force will be with you. Always.